Hey Jack Squad, I hope all is well and I hope you're making it happen for yourself. We got to make it happen for ourselves. Listen, today I got a story time. Story time. It is story time. And I'm going to tell a story that what I'm going to be talking about today, I don't talk about with anyone ever, right? As you all know, maybe you don't, I was in the foster system, right? I was a foster child. It's cringing for me to even say that word, foster. I hate that word. I hate foster child and I hate ward of the state. That's how you classify it. When you got to fill out paperwork as a child for school or whatever you got to fill out, you're a ward of the state. And that means you ain't got no mama, you ain't got no daddy. And I took it as don't nobody give a damn about you, right? I hate those terms. Ward of the state and foster child, I hate. But I'm going to have to start using them because I have to explain my dynamics, right? So my second foster home, I lived there from the 7th grade, junior high and high school, 6 years I stayed there, right? And it was trying enough moving to another neighborhood, don't know nobody, I got to fight every day. But I lived in this home. Now from the outside, they looked wonderful. They looked like the all-American family. They had a beautiful house on the outside. It was well painted. They had awnings. The front porch was lovely. They had nice cars. From the outside. The inside was about like a house of horrors, right? I'm not going to tell that story right now. I will talk about that. But right now, I'm going to just talk about an episode that happened several times when I was in junior high. Now, the foster people were called Virginia and Arthur. They wanted me to call them Aunt Jenny and Uncle Arthur, right? They were far from that. That's what I called them. They were far from that, right? I lived in a home of neglect. Not only emotionally, but physically. I was neglected, right? I didn't eat properly. And I didn't get school clothes and so on and so forth. I had to steal my school clothes. But all of that will be in my book. And I am writing a book, and it was suggested to me to just tell stories regarding my life, right? And so I'm going to do that. Now, while I'm speaking, you may see me stumble or stutter or take a breath. That is because I've never talked about these things ever with anyone. Never. Never to the extent that I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel and writing in my book. But it's time. It's something I never talked about. Even my close friends did not know what I was going through during school years. No one knew. The junior high was the toughest times because I was 11, 12, and 13. I was 11 years old when I was in 7th grade. Younger than most, right? But by the time I got to high school, I knew how to navigate and maneuver and play the cards that I was dealt. You know, I had friends who had good mamas that cooked good meals. I had friends who had older brothers and sisters I could hang out with and learn stuff from. Got plenty game. So I learned how to live in my situation, right? Now, Jenny and Arthur were married. I don't forget how long, I don't remember. And they had a mentally retarded son who, when I first got there, he was in an institution. He was in an institution in Ohio, right? He eventually came. I don't know how long later he came. That's a whole nother situation. But at any rate, Virginia, Jenny, and Arthur worked good jobs. They worked at the steel mill, a big one in Cleveland that's still there. I think it's the only one left, about the only one. Alcoa in Cleveland, right? She worked first shift, he worked second shift. Now, they did not sleep together. I had the master bedroom, and I guess they thought they was doing me a solid because I had the big bedroom, right? I had the master bedroom, the husband slept in the room next to me, and Jenny slept downstairs in the dining room on a couch. She slept like that for the whole 6 years I lived there. How she slept on that couch, I do not know. And she had a little dog, a little chihuahua or something. I think it was a chihuahua with the hair. named Fifi that got on my nerves, right? That's who she slept with, her little dog, Fifi, okay? Now, this was a peculiar situation coming from where I come from. I came from a very structured household. I could do whatever I want to do, but the same token, nobody was saying to me, right? You know, there was no love, there was no hugs, there was no you all right, there was no are you hungry, there was the Arthur would give me little coins, little change to catch the bus to get to school. That was high school though. Bus fare was 13 cents. He would give me 13 cents, so I caught the bus. I'm talking about this because in junior high, it was extremely rough for me, right? And it's brutally cold. What I'm going to talk about today is going to school in the winter, okay? It was brutally cold in Cleveland, right? And it snowed a lot, especially when I was younger. I don't know if it snowed more when I was younger or just I was little when it seemed like a lot of snow. But it snowed a lot, right? And I had to walk to school. Now, school was only 2 blocks away. I went down the street, turned left, to the next 2 blocks, school was there. School was not far, but I did not have warm boots. And the reason why I have so many shoes and clothes and boots now is because of the way that I was neglected. I'm not going to say raised. The way that I was neglected in my second foster home. I eventually had to start stealing shoes and clothes. But for right now, we're just going to talk about them boots that I did not have in the winter. So I had a pair of boots, and I may have worn them 2 winters. I'm not sure. But you know, children's feet grow. And every day, even though the school was 2 blocks away, if the snow was high, my feet would be wet. My feet would be wet. And Jenny would have the nerve to tell me to put plastic in my boots, right? Every day that I walked home, my feet was frostbitten, right? If they weren't frostbitten in the medical term, they was damn near bout, right? So I would come home, they had a fireplace, and I would come home and take my boots off and my socks off and sit and rub my feet until they warmed. That was what I had to do in the wintertime because my feet were froze because I had holes in my boots. I had holes in my boots. My feet were touching the snow. Okay? Now, even though it was only 2 blocks away, that's a long time in the snow. I did not have boots. That was junior high. I may have worn them boots all 3, at least 2 I know. The first year they probably bought me something. But they soon neglected me, right? And like I said, I didn't eat, but I learned how to go to my friend's house. Their mothers were great cooks. Their mothers were mothers. Their mothers was mothering over there, right? Even though some of them didn't have daddies or they didn't have good daddies, I knew how to go over this person's house for this, that person's house for this, that person's house for that. And that is how I lived for 6 years, right? And I did have cousins in the neighborhood, and I had 2 aunts and cousins in the neighborhood that I would go to, right? But my home life was horrible, right? Now, no one hit me. No one molested me, thank God, right? But the neglect was enough. The neglect was enough. I hated getting up in the morning, going outside in the snow with those boots on that had holes in them. Holes in the soles, right? And I did that every day that it was cold. And I remember when she did buy me some boots, there were some other foster girls, right? They were grown. And when she bought us all some boots, right? And this affected me. She bought us, it was 3 of us, she bought us all 3 some boots, and I got the ugly pair. I felt like, let me tell you what I felt like in that house when it came to them. I felt like, is it Cinderella who had the steps? Even though they weren't evil, don't get me wrong, but I felt like the one that didn't get what they were supposed to get. She liked them better than she liked me, you know. Yeah, she liked them better than she liked me. Now, it didn't affect our relationship. I still love them today. They still family. But the way she treated me was different. And I don't know if they noticed it. I'm pretty sure they did because I didn't talk about it, right? Um, I think that there should be more support for foster children, right? There should be an avenue, which I'm sure there is. I just didn't feel like it because at some point I said, if I tell what's going on in here and what's not going on, they're going to move me somewhere else. And then I'll have to get used to a whole nother situation and surroundings and some more people, and it could be worse. That was my thought. I grew up thinking I have to stay here because if I leave here, this was my second foster home, if I leave here, it may be worse. It could be worse. It probably will be worse, right? Now that I'm grown and know the horrors that happen, me and molesting little girls and stuff like that, I felt like I was safe as I could be at that time, right? There were a lot of things that went on or did not go on in that house, and I'll talk about it later. But this will be a series regarding me being a foster child, right? I hate that word. I hate that word. Yeah, this will be a series. But I just wanted you all to know that I walked in the winter for, I know 3 winters, 2 winters for sure, with holes in my boots, and I got frostbite every winter. Every winter. I dreaded going to school. But the only thing about school was my escape, because school was where I had fun. You know, a lot of kids cut school. I didn't cut. I wanted to be there. That's where the fun was, right? I'm going to have a good time when I go today. I'm going to be laughing and talking. You know, that first year was rough for me because I fought every day. I was a new kid, so I had to fight every day. Every day I had to fight. And I would get suspended. Jenny wouldn't come back. You know, you had to bring somebody back. She wouldn't come back. She might have came back one time. And I told them, you know, I told the office people, I said, nobody's coming for me. I remember I got in a fight with my best friend. She's my best friend now. We've been friends for 50 years. And we got into a fight. And I sat in the office. I said, nobody, when I came back to school, you need to get a 3-day suspension. And I sat there. I'm ready to come back to school. I said, no one's coming for me. And what I want to know now is why no one in the school system checked on me and saw to that, because I got suspended a lot that first year because I had to fight everybody in the school, seemed like, before folks would stop picking on me, right? And I got suspended, and I would go to school. Some days I would go to school just ready to fight. I'm ready to fight so-and-so. I had my list. I'm ready to fight so-and-so today. That's what I'm about to do, right? And then walk home in them boots with holes in the sole, right? That 7th grade year was a trying year. It's already trying because you're a teenager. I was a preteen. I was 11. Everybody else was 12 and 13. So it was quite a culture shock for me. Quite a culture shock, right? But Jenny and Arthur did nothing for me. Nothing. And they got a check, which I didn't know at the time. They got money for me, and they both worked good jobs. Why didn't they buy me shoes and clothes? Why? I do know that they were gamblers. They played the numbers. This was before numbers came out. They played clearinghouse and policy. The number man would come to the house, right? Sit down with them. They drink. You know, the mailman come in and drink with them. You know, they were drinkers and they were gamblers. They were drinkers and they were gamblers. And I'll talk about that later in my series. But they didn't spend any money on me, and they had it. They had it to spend. But they did not spend any money on me. I don't know how you bring a child into your home and neglect them. I don't know how you do that. How, purposely, you call the people up and say, hey, I'd like to be a foster parent. You go through all the steps it takes to be one, and then they bring the child to you and you neglect them. I hope they're rotting in hell. That's what I hope. Anyway, that's my story about souls in the, what did I say? Holes in the souls. Holes in the soles. I had holes in my shoe, and I would get frostbite. And every winter, I'd take them for the, I know the first three winters, I would have to take them boots off and rub my feet in front of the fireplace for at least an hour till my feet unthawed. My feet had to unthaw. Okay? Yeah, that is the reason why I have so many shoes now. because I said I would never only have one pair of shoes. That was never going to happen to me. I don't care what happened. I was going to have shoes in my life. Okay? So anyway, guys, you know, I need you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to have to go decompress for a minute. Yeah, because I'm talking about, like I said, I never told anybody I had holes in my shoes. Not even my girlfriends. Never told anybody that. I just suffered through that, right? Until I learned how to steal them. We'll talk about that later. Until I learned how to steal, then I was cool, right? So anyway, y'all, like I said, like, share, comment, subscribe. You know, all of my social media stuff is down in the description box. If you want to donate to my channel, please do. I'm strictly doing YouTube, so I appreciate a donation to my channel. If you want to purchase a T-shirt, I have T-shirts, red, white, and black. Make it happen for yourself T-shirts. Make it happen for yourself T-shirts in small, medium, large, and extra large. You email me your name, address, size, and color. I'll email you back your shipping and handling, depending on where you live. And then you can Cash App me your money, and I ship them right out the next day. As soon as I get your Cash App, I ship it out the next day. So T-shirts are $20, okay? So thank you for listening to Jackie with a Q, and I will see you all later.